Yes, I start with the headlines here. So you see that there is a big news earlier this year saying that there are problems with publications of researchers in several universities, and in the beginning, in February, there was 8 university and 33 researchers was accused for shopping papers. Okay, and then the updated information on August 2023, there were like 100 academics associated with 33 universities across the nation may have engaged in fraudulent practice concerning their research. So this quite big news, and as Ajahn Jesada said in the morning, bad news go to the first page, right? You don't have to pay. Good news, you have to pay for it. Okay, so this kind of stir up caused a big stir in the academia in Thailand. Okay, and it not very often that the social media and public has paid attention to the research in Thailand. Okay, but unfortunately, this is an attention in not a very good way. So it starts from some people searching in this probably a paper mill. It's kind of a service. If you type the name of the website, now you can still see it. And then from there, you can, it's actually, from the front end, it look like a publishing service company. It helps you in preparation of manuscript, it helps proofreading, something like that. So many of these legitimate service are around. So don't think that all of them are bad. They might not be bad, they might be also good. But in this one, if you look in one particular menu, you see the thing called co-authorship. And then if you look there, you can see some kind of filter that allow you to filter for specialty, which means the subject area that you're interested in, and database, which is Scopus or Web of Science, and also ranking Q1 to Q4. This sounds a little bit smelly. Q1 to Q4, and country. I don't know what this means. And then if you look through it, you will find a list of papers that match your criteria. And then you get, oops. And then you see something like this. This is the list of the paper with abstract and plan for publishing in spring 2022, deadline 30th of November 2021. A journal title available for those who has paid. And yeah, and indexing is journal Scopus Q2 to 3, and then the list of author number 1, you have to pay 900 USD. For author number 2 is already occupied. Author number 3 is 800 USD, things like that. So the peak is later, the same paper with exactly the same title actually appear. And the first position and the third position is now occupied by 2 Thai researchers. So this kind of make a big news, and it is very difficult to find other excuse. Okay, and if you look at the list of the author, you see that there are like tens of authors from 12 different institutions from various countries: India, Thailand, Israel, no, not Israel, Iraq, and Iran, Saudi Arabia. Also, so many combinations for a short review paper. Okay, and after that, the social media are interested who are the guys, who are the Thai guys who has been listed in the papers, and they went on to check the profile of the guy, and it is interesting to see that the third author have like 95 papers published in 2022. And in 2021, he has like 50 papers. 50 papers mean you have one paper in a week. 90 mean you have 2 papers in a week. How could that be possible? Okay, and yeah, but after that, there was a sharp drop in the paper, and then the investigation began. This guy, but there are 2 guys, one from the university in the north, another one is the university in Laxi. Okay, so the investigation began, and as far as I know now, the 2 already resigned or dismissed from the university already. Actually, one guy who is publishing, whose track record is here, he hasn't yet obtained his PhD. He was a staff, and then he's still kind of during the PhD study in a university in the USA, but he got like 95 papers in a year. Okay, so well, okay, but according to open letters from the Julapon Royal Academy, signed dated on 31st of July this year. This guy already not associated with the institution. Okay, so this example give you the dark side of academic research in Thailand, and many people blame the system of measuring KPI and unrealistic requirement that make a professor try to struggle. But that it is quite I would argue for the case of the guy who is not yet having his PhD and not yet a full-time staff. But it's quite interesting how what he think, why he think that he can make like 100 publications in a year without any people noticing something wrong. And the area that he publishes is kind of very, very broad. He is actually from the nursing faculty, but he published in some papers in RSC Advanced, which is about palladium catalysis, and another paper about review in nanomaterials, something like that, which doesn't really related to his field. Okay, but if you look at the publication service that I show you in the very first page, you see how easy it is to just to click and pay, and then you get your paper published. So my point is, this kind of very obviously wrong thing, like buying a paper, can happen. What about many other things that may be regarded in the gray area zone? Something like manipulation of data, something like not adequately keeping good records of your research. Okay, so I'm sure this kind of thing happen everywhere in the country, in my university, or even in my laboratory. I would admit that I'm not 100% sure that I can collect or have record of all the raw data. And maybe after this session, you heard about the data curation. Okay, so this is a very, very important aspect of research integrity. Okay, but I'm not going to talk more on that. What I'm going to talk here is about to share with you what is Chulalongkorn University trying to do in the past. It's not really directly related or in response to the case that I told here, because the case just happened earlier this year. But actually, Chulalongkorn University realized the importance of doing good research practice for a long time. But what happened is not really have a very good guideline or very systematic yet until only a few years before that we start to have this kind of system. So in the past, we don't have specific policy for research integrity. We don't have the body who is responsible for this. We have to appoint uh, kind of ad hoc committee case by case when there are complaints about research misconduct. Okay, and there is no specific guideline for it. The training is not compulsory. There is no standard format, and each faculty has their own system. Okay, in my faculty, in Faculty of Science, we did that quite more than 10 years ago. And I am the one who is responsible for doing this kind of training. But in the beginning, it's kind of voluntary. But now in the Faculty of Science, I would say that it is kind of compulsory because whenever we have a new graduate students, we have the orientation session, and they always invite me to give this kind of ethics lecture, which takes like 2 hours, something like that. Okay, and for others practice, we have a rules that research proposal involving human subjects or animal models require approval by the relevant committee, which is to be compliant with the Thai laws, and also all thesis submitted, like what Dr. Beth said about the NTU. So we also have the same system that the submit thesis must pass plagiarism detection. But I don't know what is the standard practice at NTU, because in here, if you have your thesis run through the plagiarism detector, you may see the similarity like 20%, 30%, and people always ask how many percent is acceptable. It's a very difficult question to answer, right? Because it could be 10%, but the whole sentence or the whole paragraph taken from other paper, that already bad. But it could be 30%, but without the real plagiarism. So it is not a very easy question to answer. Okay, so this is what happened in the past, and then in 2022, finally, Chulalongkorn University has announced its research. I don't know whether it's called research ethics or research integrity policy, because Ajahn Yongyut point out that there are subtle difference between the two. Okay, but I call here research ethics policies at Chula, as announced in 2022. It said that Chulalongkorn University expect its faculty and students and staff members to comply with the highest ethical standard for academic and research work. Number 2, Chulalongkorn University will allocate the necessary infrastructure, resource, and environment to support and promote the compliance of its faculty, students, and staff members with internationally recognized standard for academic and research ethics. Number 3, Chulalongkorn University has a mission to raise awareness of academic and research ethics. Number 4, Chulalongkorn University put in place a mechanism for handling petition on academic and research ethics in an efficient, transparent, and fair manner. Number 5, Chulalongkorn University continues to promote collaboration to strengthen the effort to uphold academic and research ethics. And I think what we are doing today is actually very answer the policy number 5. So for historical information, at the beginning we have only faculty level committee. As far as I know, one of the committee that has been operating for a long time is the one that Faculty of Medicine, where Ajahn Kittisak is the one who is responsible for that committee. I'm not aware of any other faculty that have this kind of ethics committee, research ethics committee until Chulalongkorn. But there are dedicated committees for things like human ethics, IRB. Everyone in Jura, we know we have 2 sets of IRB, IRB 1 and IRB 2. One is for the kind of medical human subject for medical studies. Another one is for non-medical study. We have this for quite few years before this research integrity committee. And at the university level, the academic and research integrity committee and there are two committees repeating, but actually one is the office, the other one is the committee. Okay, it was first formed in June 2020. Okay, and there is some amendment of the scope of the committee in 2022. So we can say that the office is officially formed around about one year ago. Okay, and this is the structure of the committee. We have the vice president for research affairs as a consultant. Okay, we have director of the law office ofฬาลงกรณ University as the also as the consultant, and I Thirayut from Faculty of Science was appointed as the chair of the research committee, and we have members of the committees, Ajahn Kittisak from Faculty of Medicine, Ajahn Supang from the Social Research Institute, Ajahn Kinkan from Faculty of Arts, Ajahn Pani, who is assistant of the president in the research affair, and we have Miss Bongkot, who is secretary. She is the director of the quality office of the research division of the university. Okay, and we have all of the committee are from different sections. I myself from physical science, Dr. Kittisak from health science, Dr. Supang from social science, and Dr. Kinkana from humanities. And the committee has a role in promoting and raising the level of understanding and awareness in academic and research integrity among university members. And another important role is to receiving and investigating cases pertinent to violation of ethical standards and provide recommendation to the president. Okay, then the scope of responsibility lies on the important areas in research integrity, which include fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, authorship misconduct, and also we have another special cases. Whatever that the president assigns us to investigate, we also have to take care of. Okay. And we start by drafting a standard operating procedure, which include important section, right? Like rationale, scope, and authority, structure, and appointment of committee, and the details of how we operate. And we have to thank the ethics committees of the Faculty of Medicine that provide us a template as a guideline for us to follow. Okay. And this is and we also make details of the petition process. On the whistleblower side, we tell them how to file a petition. We tell them the conditions. Okay, so they can have option that they can file the petition by telling the committee who he is, or he can kind of conceal his identity. So we allow anonymous complaint. Okay, and then there are several ways that the complaint can be filed. It can be filed by in person, it can be filed by a post, or it can be filed by email. But of course, if they want to protect the personal identity, then probably by mail, by post would be the only option. And then the file petition will undergo preliminary review by the committee to see if it fall into our responsibility, and if it does, then we go to the investigation procedure. If not, we turn it down, and telling the people who made the complaint, who filed the petition, why we do not take the case. Okay. And then the petition process on the committee side. So if we decide that we will take the case, then there'll be a committee meeting in order to investigate, and maybe we call the person involving in the complaint to get an interview to see, and then we have meetings to consider all the result. And this is kind of very tedious process. It's often not finished in one round. And sometimes we also need people from the lawyer office in order to make all the records in appropriate format in order to be able to reference it later. And then at the end, once we come up with the result, then we make a report and send it to the president in order to make a decision what is the action to be taken. Okay, and we also report the result to the person who filed the complaint, and also the first person who has been complained. And if there are problems, there are also process that the people can appeal. Okay, if there are problems, if they don't agree with our decision. Okay, and for the fiscal year 2023, we don't have many cases yet, about 5 cases, which I don't know, maybe a good news that as big university as La Lung Gong University, there's only few cases. But on the other side, it's maybe because we are not well known enough. People are not yet know. But we are trying to kind of promote and tell the people that we have this kind of channel for the complaint or filing petition if you see any research misconduct that fall into the 4 category that we say. But we still also have some complaint that doesn't really related to the area that we are taking care of or out of scope. In that case, we also reject it. So the 5 cases that we have is, first one is the falsification of figures in a published paper. It is still under investigation. This one is quite a tough, difficult story because it's also involved kind of multi-million baht business. And also, but unfortunately, in the paper that has been published, there are some accused of this, I would say, duplicated figures, which we're still in the process to investigate whether it is intentional or it's just an honest mistake. Okay, but this has been posted in PubPeer. So the faculty who is the who own this paper has filed the complaint. So and we are still investigating. And the second case is the violation of Code of Ethics in Animal Studies and the violation of the Pathogens and Animal Toxin Act 2015. So this is also under investigation. But this one is also complicated because it's require expertise that is outside the committee. So we have to appoint additional subcommittee from the biosafety. It's called Institutional Biosafety Board to help us in the investigation. This is still under investigation. Case number 3, there is an accusation of authorship misconduct. Is someone complained, people from our university that they published a paper without putting his name into the paper. But in this case, we already get all the evidence, and we see that the one who complained doesn't really meet the authorship criteria according to ICMJE. So we can safely decide that in this case, the author from the university doesn't breach any research integrity guideline. Okay, and this case is already closed. In case number 4 is accusation of plagiarism in a thesis. This one is still under investigation. And case number 5, in this one, the one who ordered us to investigate is the Ministry of Higher Education. So this is the outcome of the authorship misconduct that started this year, and Chulalongkorn University is one of the university in the I don't know how many 100 or 30, I think 30 university that the Ministry of Higher Education have investigated by its own, and it found some staff or some researcher at Chulalongkorn University who produced an unusual unusual number of publication according to their criteria. They have 4 different criteria. I can't remember what they are, but it's based on an unusually high number of publication with people from several countries, and publication from different areas of expertise, something like that. And they identified like I think 4 people, and they asked the university to investigate. Okay, but this case of we already investigated, and we found no evidence of misconduct in 3 of them. But also there is one case that is actually the university has already closed the case before. Okay, and this one is in the process of reporting back to the Ministry of Higher Education. So another task of our committee that we are doing is to promote and to raise the level of understanding and awareness. So we have our website for the Research Integrity Office, but unfortunately this one is still only available in Thai. We are also trying to implement the international version. We also prepare the information kits that involve for basic topics, including fabrication, falsification, plagiarism, and authorship misconduct. And we have made video clip introducing the office and the committee. And for online lesson, we plan to have our own, but it probably takes some time. So at the beginning, we take the lesson that already provided by other organizations. In this case, we ask the NASDA, who already have this kind of online training, and we adopt requests for use their system for the beginning. And they have courses like Research Integrity 101, Research Integrity 02, Authorship, Lab Notebook, Human Ethics, Animal for scientific work. Okay, but we hope that in the future we will also develop our own, and we also have some venue to communicate to the community, not only for Chulalongkorn people, but also with people from outside Chulalongkorn University about the research integrity. And the one venue that we have made in August, which is last fiscal year, was the challenge in the establishment of the academic and research ethics standard. There was a discussion panel. I think some of the people who came to the panel today also went to that panel. And we have about 180 attendees, both online and on-site. And this is another session that we organize, but this belong to a different fiscal year. Okay, and this is example of the materials that we are making, and we would be very happy to share and to get comments from other universities. Okay, and I think it's come to the end of my talk, and if there is any comments or question or anything that you want to share, you're welcome. I think we have some time left, or maybe not. Okay, so I hand the microphone back to the MC. Or if the MC is not coming yet, but if you have questions, if you have comments, you can ask. Raise your hand, and then the microphone will go to you.
Just comment that for research integrity complaints, we have a web form.
Yes.
So we have on our website, and so usually people use that and then of course they can choose to be anonymous because they don't have to put their name in that.
Okay, thank you. I think currently we only have the paper form, but yes, web form would be another convenient way.
Yes. And also we do get a number of issues on that web form which are nothing to do with research integrity.
Yes.
But I forward them on to the appropriate authorities.
Right. So you have a unique kind of screening process, right, to weed away what that doesn't really fall into our task.
Yeah. It's usually quite straightforward.
Yeah.
And then I can forward it to someone who can deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. ครับเชิญครับได้ครับ
สวัสดีค่ะพอดีจากสถาปัตย์ธรรมศาสตร์นะคะต้องขอบคุณมากนะคะที่มีเวทีนี้อยากขอเรียนถามเรื่องของ plagiarism ถ้ามันเป็นplagiarism ตัวเองทางสมมตินะคะถ้าเวลาคนทำวารสารเขาจะให้สักกี่เปอร์เซ็นต์นะคะสำหรับ plagiarism ตัวเองไงคะ
คือคำว่าขออนุญาต well since the question is in Thai I would answer in Thai ครับไอ้คำถามที่ว่ากี่เปอร์เซ็นต์ถือเป็น plagiarism เนี่ยไม่ว่าจะ self หรือไม่ self ก็เป็นคำถามที่ตอบยากฮะมันไม่มีไกด์ไลน์ที่ชัดเจน I don't know whether Dr. Bet can help us with the question that how many percent of plagiarism of self plagiarism is regarded as plagiarism. I don't think there is a big difference between self plagiarism and plagiarism from other people's work, and there is no strict ไม่มีไกด์ไลน์ชัดเจนแล้วว่ากี่เปอร์เซ็นต์ก็อย่างที่ผมว่านะมันอาจจะ 30% แต่กระจัดกระจายอย่างนั้นก็อาจจะไม่ถือ plagiarism แต่ว่าถ้าเกิดแค่ 10% หรือ 5% แต่ว่ามันดันเป็น1ประโยค1 paragraph ที่ผิดหลักการอ้างอิงเนาะถ้าสมมติเป็น1ประโยค1 paragraph เนี่ยหลักการอ้างอิงที่ถูกต้องก็คือใส่ quotation แล้วก็มี reference ไม่ว่าจะเป็นของเราเองหรือว่าจะเป็นของคนอื่นก็ต้องใส่นะคือจะถือว่าเป็นงานชิ้นของเราที่เราเคยเขียนไปแล้วเราจะกลับมาเขียนใหม่ก็ไม่เห็นจำเป็นต้องขออนุญาตอันนี้ถ้าตามหลักการไม่ได้เพราะว่าโดยหลักการแล้วสิ่งที่เรา publish ไปเนี่ยมันคือของที่เราโอน copyright ไปให้กับสำนักพิมพ์เรียบร้อยแล้วนั้นในการที่เราจะเอากลับมาใช้ใหม่เนี่ยเราก็จะต้องอ้างอิงถึงแม้ว่าจะเป็นของเราเองนะครับอีกอันที่สำคัญคือเรื่องรูปเนาะรูปบางทีเป็นรูปที่เราทำเองวาดเองตีพิมพ์ไปแล้วจะเอากลับมาใช้ใหม่อันนี้ต้องไม่ใช่แค่ใส่ reference ก็พอนะจริงๆคือต้องไปขอ copyright จากตัวสำนักพิมพ์ที่เป็นเจ้าของรูปด้วยเราถึงจะสามารถใส่เข้าไปได้ครับนั้นส่วนตัวผมไม่แยกความแตกต่างระหว่าง self plagiarism กับ plagiarism ของคนอื่นจริงๆมันหลักการเหมือนกันครับ
Hello, I'm Dr. Kittitak from the Faculty of Medicine, Chulalongkorn University. I would like to share on the previous questions about self-plagiarism and how many percent and things like that. First of all, self-plagiarism, somebody regards it as an oxymoron. But because it's mine, how can I steal my own work? But in fact, it does exist. We do have things as a self-plagiarism, and the principle to consider it is exactly the same as plagiarism. Self or not self is the same. And I would like to emphasize on Professor Bett's talk this morning that the software that we use is to detect text similarity. It does not detect plagiarism, because plagiarism is an inappropriate similarities. Appropriateness has to be considered by many factors, not only the percentage of the similarities. Of course, the more percentage of the text similarity, the more difficult for you to defend that it's not a plagiarism. But it's not always. I have seen the text similarity of 80% and it's not plagiarism. And I have seen 0.1% of text similarity is a plagiarism, and in fact that one was in Nature and they retracted it. So the thing is that the amount of similarities doesn't matter. So in other words, I tend to disagree with until that this question is very easy to answer because there is no magic number. You have to consider a lot of things out. Thank you.
Let me agree. I mean, plagiarism is not quantifiable, right? It can be 0.1% and it's still serious plagiarism. I had an email 2 or 3 days ago from a predatory publisher saying they allow 15% plagiarism. So no, plagiarism is not quantifiable. Self-plagiarism, subtly different topic. Because if I take material from somebody's thesis and put it in my paper, that's plagiarism. But if I take material from my own thesis and publish it in my paper, then in my opinion that is not self-plagiarism, that is justifiable reuse of the material.
But if you still have to refer to that thesis, right?
Often people, I think,
there is also another
you
way
probably
around.
should.
If you publish a thesis before a paper,
yes,
and you use the material from the thesis in publication, is that?
Nobody ever cites the thesis
That
anymore. That is just
you can publish a thesis first and then publish a paper. Then another way is to publish a paper first and then you use some of the figures from that paper in the thesis.
Yes, you
So
can. But in practice, no. In practice,
because in this case, you think it's a different venue, like a thesis and paper is different audience.
It's because they're documents for different purposes.
Different purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but if I take material from one of my papers and reuse it in another of my papers,
that one is exactly wrong. It's definitely wrong. Yeah. Plagiarism.
So there is a subtle difference between plagiarism. But the important point is that it's not quantifiable.
Which makes things difficult.
I think also you have to look at where the so-called plagiarism occurs. For example, in a paper, if this paper is on a theme that the writers have worked on for some time, in the introduction there would bound to be some repetition because this is the same theme that the writers have been working on. So you can look at that. And also in the discussion, sometimes you have to refer to what happens in the past on this topic, and there's bound to be some repetition. So I think you have to look at where the so-called plagiarism occurs. But if it occurs in the results part, then that's serious. Because if the same results are repeated, then it is plagiarism. But I think in other parts, you have to make the judgment on a case-by-case basis. Thank you.
But what I always tell my students is, if you copy things from other sources and paste it on your text and you try to edit it, rearrange it in any way, you are likely to be doing plagiarism. But if you read, understand, and you write everything fresh, you will never do any plagiarism. So to be on the safe side, but I know people do not always do this. It's easier to cut and paste and try to edit or rearrange, or sometimes now you have a tool. You have tools like you can use paraphrasing tools in the internet, or you can ask ChatGPT to paraphrase this, and then now it's become more difficult to detect. But be careful. Sometimes you get the problem of the so-called torture phrase. Sometimes big data is translated into something like I don't know, huge information, something like that. That's kind of funny, and immediately that it has been passing through that kind of plagiarism avoiding software. Yes.
Tend to think about, but when it comes to art subjects, the question is somewhat different, because what may look like plagiarism may be an homage or a parody or a tribute. So art subjects complex.
Yeah, it's
and
more complex.
One of our NTU, which is Lisa Winstanley, work on this.
Yeah, that's why in the committee we need to have people from several disciplines Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, I turn the microphone back to the MC.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Thirayut Vilaiwan. The academic research integrity atฬาลงกรณ์ from policy to practice session has proven to be the topic of ethics to be a very contemporary discourse that still needs further examination. And before we begin our next session, I would like to introduce you all to Professor Kittisak Kunvishit, MD, one of the academic and research committee, one of the key figures in pushing research integrity into an important agenda. Please welcome. Just to introduce yourself.
All right. Sorry, I didn't catch the introduction earlier. Well, basically, I'm an ophthalmologist. I'm retired now, retired for almost 2 years now. But during my time when I was working for Faculty of Medicine, research integrity was quite a novel thing. Of course, we're familiar with ethics, in the Faculty of Medicine because we have to do research with human. So ethics in that sense to protect human subject is very well known among the Faculty of Medicine. But when we're talking about authorship, plagiarism, fabrication, falsification, nobody was aware of that. And some of the misconduct, were taken as for granted as doable, acceptable, but in fact it's not acceptable worldwide. So my job at that time was to advocate the research integrity, so to speak. That's why we one of the very first institute in the country and in the region to establish the official Office of Research Integrity. In fact, we call it Office of Research and Academic Integrity because the work doesn't involve only in research. It's also about anything to do with academics, like you're writing a textbook, you're providing knowledge to the society. This kind of thing is an academic activities which have to have integrity because we need trust from the public. So I'm very glad that today's session has happened and it's a beginning for the collaboration between Nanyang Technological University andฬาลงกรณ์, and I'm sure it will initiate a lot of collaboration from various institutions, from you all in this, in this room. So don't hesitate, to come and join in and then promote the research integrity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That was Professor Kittisak Kunvishit, MD, one of the Academic and Research Ethics Committee. Once again, a very important figure in pushing research academic to be an important agenda. Now, up next, Ms. GOH Su Nee, the Deputy Director and Lead Open Science and Research Services, Office of Information, Knowledge and Library Science, the Nanyang Technological University, will be holding a session on the topic of fostering research integrity through research data management and open science. Please welcome.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to just come down, and I think it's easier if I come down, and feel free to just interact with me as I move along in the presentation. So I'm going to just time myself as well. Oh, I need to point to the back, right? Okay. Does it work? Slow response. So yeah, good afternoon everyone. I'm Su Nee. First of all, thank you very much to Chulalongkorn University for having me here, and thank you very much to Willie and of course Prof. Rod Bates for bringing me along. I am a librarian, so I started with not exactly research data management in the first place, with some other library portfolios, but I would like to share with you today how my journey started with this. So in 2014, we started to look at things like, let me just point it to the right direction again, the drafting of the research data policy. So that was in the early days when NTU decides to do something about research data, and we were playing a very important role by looking at best practices around the world to see what how our own policy could look like. So we started to look at like policies from UK, US, what the universities are saying, and then we put something together. We got different stakeholders to give their comments. We also started to draft our data management plan template. So we had to test it. We went around to the different colleges to get some testing and feedback there and then. We got people to tell us how much they hated it. Yeah, I think nobody told us they loved it, okay? So, and then we started to look at conducting DMP writing workshops. Yeah, so I had to work with my team to see how to support them in answering the DMP questions. We started to analyze the DMPs that were submitted in the internal system. We had to look at, you know, what they're writing in there. And then the governance partner is the NTU started coming up with some research with data governance policy. So that was when we started to map what we have with the data governance policy. So that touches on the research data classification. Okay, so that was a very exciting journey. And of course, we were not just looking at policies and guidelines, but we were looking at platforms. So 2017 onwards, we launched our university repository for open access research data. We started to run workshops to share with researchers how to use the platform to deposit, to curate, put in the metadata, and when to publish in 2017 as well. Then we got also excited because we started to have very good business. And then that was when we decided to go for certification. So that is the Core Trust Seal certification. Then we learned about, you know, being balanced is a good approach, not just focusing on open access research data, but also looking at how the university can take care of the non-open access research data. So that is the other storage platform that we got involved in. And then now we're looking at trying to come up with a finder that allows people to answer a few questions and then get some idea on perhaps which data storage platforms they could be looking at. Okay? So besides the platforms, now we are moving into open science. Okay? So last year we had our very first open research conference. And then we got people very excited in Singapore to look at this topic. We also gave away the Open Research Awards. And to give away the awards, which is a form of recognition, we had to look at the evaluation criteria. So that was when we first got started in coming up with a checklist. Okay? So that is my journey so far, now that you know a little bit about me. Okay, so let me share with you a little bit more about each of these. This clicker is very helpful. Appreciating the landscape. Okay, thanks, clicker. Okay, so how research data management, open science, and research integrity are intertwined. So the three bubbles, I was playing around with the bubbles quite a fair bit when I was doing this slide. So what to put in? So I decided to pick these three, and I think we started with research data management and research integrity together. So I think what I want to say about this is that open science does not automatically guarantee good science, okay? And the other way around as well, okay? So being good in one does not guarantee in the other, but by having these three together, it does help to make research more traceable and verifiable. Okay. Okay. So this is the tagline that I might find myself repeating a few times today. It is about as open as possible, as closed as necessary. Okay. So open science is not about everything must be open. Okay, it is about, there is a time to be open, there is also a time when you can't be open. All right, so it's good to take note of this, which is often cited in some of the international guidelines as well. Okay, so there's this line that I like very much, which I'd like to share with you. Open data that is available to everybody, but is not findable. Okay, I stop here, because when people say that you can find my data on my website, for example, it's findable, but is it really interoperable? So open data, first of all, it may be findable, but it may not be interoperable. Okay. And how reusable is it? What makes open data reusable? Okay. So these are three different variables that we need to think about when it comes to open data. Okay. Hence, this line, it is available to everybody, but if it's not findable, okay, you can say, contact me in your data availability statement. In a journal article, you may say, contact the corresponding author if you want the data. But the data set may not be findable. So it is not findable, interoperable, or reusable. It's only of very limited use. Okay, so something about PLOS One. I was looking at Chulalongkorn's top publications in terms of which journals you publish in. So I see that in your top 10, there is this PLOS One that you have many publications in. So I decided to look at the this PLOS One. All right, sorry. Okay. So this particular article that I find in the Retraction Watch, it says that this journal paper was published in 2010, retracted in 2023 due to data concerns. So in Retraction Watch, you can filter by different types of reasons for being retracted. So this one actually has a data availability statement. It points to a data repository that comes with images of its data, but the underlying data are just repeats of the same images in a journal paper. Okay, so is it findable? Yes. Is it interoperable? Depends to what level. Is it reusable? Can you use the image the same way as you would with, say, raw data in Excel, CSV, tabular format? Okay, so think about that. Okay, so I was looking up the top factor for PLOS One. Okay, what is top factor about? So top TOP stands for transparency and openness promotion, and we know there's journal impact factor. Okay, but TOP factor is about how transparent and open the journal is asking for, okay, in terms of all these underlying materials, supporting evidences. So there is a factor number, the same way as a journal impact factor number. Okay. So in this case, it's top factor number. Its score is 11, and it is based on data citation, etc., etc., etc. So data transparency, data must be posted to a trusted repository. So there is a score here, but the data is in a repository, but is it reusable? Is it interoperable? Okay. Okay, so with that background, I'd like to share with you a little bit about NTU RDM framework. Okay, so when we had to come up with the drafting of the policy, the DMP template, we had to learn a little bit about the research data life cycle. So what are the research data related activities that take place before it commences? Okay, so it's typically about planning. What kind of data are you planning to collect? Are you procuring it? Are you acquiring it with some terms of use, etc.? Okay, and then the during, so what happens when you have the data? So what are you doing with it? And then last but not least, the after. So post-project or post-data collection, what do you do with it? So with the understanding of these various data activities, we came up with the policies, which is the data policy, and of course, the technical and support infrastructure. Okay, so the technical infrastructure layer is about the platforms that allow people to be able to meet the requirements of the policies, while at the same time being supported by the bottom layer, the support infrastructure. So the governance would have to come in as well, so that people, they get to know, am I meeting the criteria well, etc. So I would like to expand a little bit about the support infrastructure, because I think you could have the best platforms, you could have the best policy, but remember the earlier sessions were talking about culture, okay? So to change behavior, to build or nurture a culture, the bottom layer is very, very important. You need to be an enabler, you need to be able to facilitate. So the support infrastructure is a lot where the library is trying to play a role in. It provides the glue to connect, integrate the different pieces of the research integrity and the RDM ecosystem together. And in the policy, it's very clear about who's playing which role. Okay, whether it's the PIs or the schools, the colleges, or the various departments like the IT department, the research support office, the research integrity office, the library, etc., etc. So with that policy, it's much easier when everyone is clear about who is playing which role. Okay, so PIs overall responsible for the RDM, colleges and schools, to ensure that their PIs adhere to the policy. The library shall manage the open data repository, the data management plan template, training and consultation. Okay, then the research support office, the promulgation of the policy, and then the research integrity and ethics office, focusing on the research integrity aspects of RDM, data risk monitoring, which Willie will share more later. Okay, and of course the IT department. Okay, so a little bit about the library. Okay, so it provides training and advice on DMP writing, on metadata or copyright and licenses. We help to upkeep the university DMP template. We have done 3 rounds of revisions. It is mostly to review based on what we have observed in the DMP submissions, and also to make sure that we align with the latest context. Okay, develop and manage the NTU data repository, which I will share a little bit very soon. Okay, the DMP NTU support. DMP is the basis where the researchers will start preparing for their research data management journey. Okay, so for us, we have to make sure that we make sure that the template is updated. We have it sitting in the university intranet, which is the research info system. It's embedded within that system. Yeah, so we have come up with an online guide. We provide workshops, consultation. Okay, we have a mandatory online submission in the research info system. It is a prerequisite for research project budget account creation. So it's only after they have submitted, then they get to have a budget line for them to start utilizing the grant money. Okay, so the template aims to guide NTU researchers to guide best practices, to support them in meeting the universities, the funders, and third-party obligations. So it's a set of 9 questions. Some are open text questions, some are MCQs, and some have got logical branching. Okay? It helps to use the same language for everybody, so that the PIs, when they engage the team members, is using the same terminology. It helps to reduce research data related risks. Okay. So some overview here about the NTU DMP template. So it's about the research data. What exactly are you collecting? Are you getting it from a third party? Is it going to grow? Do you need special storage platform, computing platforms? Then are you handling proprietary sensitive data? Then who will be involved in the handling of such data? And then storage and retention. A little bit about questions asked about the locations, the backup, the versioning, who's responsible, and then the last but not least, the data sharing reuse. Okay, so this is the online guide for the use of the DMP template. And I would like to share with you some of these questions. So this is one sample question from the DMP. It's asking, if you are handling proprietary secondary data, then where's the source? What's the source of the data, and what are the terms of use? Who will have access to this data? So, for example, if you have postdocs handling them or PhD students handling them, have you informed them? So that will require. Oh, this clicker. Okay. So this is the sensitive question. The earlier one is proprietary, but if you have clicked on yes to either question and whether you have informed them, does this clicker is, yeah, okay. Okay, so if you have, when you come to this question about sensitive data, it's asking whether you have human subject identifiable data, whether it is of commercial in confidence nature, whether it is national security related, patent commercialization potential, or any other types of sensitive data. Okay, so this is the part where I want to share a little bit more about if you look at the sub-question on the level of sensitivity, that is linking people to the university's data classification level. Okay, contractual and legal obligations, if any. So this is the part where we need the DMP author or the PI to say something about the research collaboration or non-disclosure agreements terms, or what they are obligated to fulfill, also in the IRB applications about the data. Okay, so have you informed them? This includes a link to an intranet form that requires them to notify the project team members who are going to handle the sensitive data, to ask them to say that I acknowledge that I'm going to handle sensitive data. So it's an undertaking form. Okay, so this is the research data classification, different levels from open to restricted to confidential to classified. So we have to make sure that it's updated to the latest other university-related policies, like the NTU data governance policy. This is the question in the DMP template that asks about the data storage location after the project closes. Okay, so it's not just about being open, but if you are waiting for your paper to be published, you might be keeping it in a non-open access place, and where is that? Okay, so it's something about e-learning. So this morning, there was mention of research integrity literacy, and this is about RDM literacy. Okay, so we came up with this e-learning that NTU faculty members and their research staff and their students can take within the intranet. It is different from what you can find on the public websites because it highlights the NTU policies and guidelines. Okay, so a little bit about the trustworthiness of the repository, because if you look at the top guideline, it mentions something about trusted repository. If you look at the publishers' journal guidelines about open data, they also use the term trusted repository. So if you are planning to come up with a repository, it's also good to look at what the certifications are asking for so that a few years down the road, you might want to consider this. Okay, so I've got a few people who came up to me to ask about the data repository experience just now. So we are using the Dataverse software, which is an open source software. It's maintained by Harvard. We have a local installation in NTU. There are 100 over installations worldwide. Okay. So the repository is for our university faculty members, research staff, and students to deposit. And the depositors can do quite a fair bit of things themselves so that the burden is also shared with them together with the library curators. So the depositors help to fill in metadata template. They can choose to add in other depositors. And Rod Bates here is one of the most active users in DRNTU data, so thank you very much. Yeah, so the depositors upload the files themselves. They can share the private URL with collaborators, with peer reviewers. So there's this option that says create URL for anonymized access, where some of these author contact information can be withheld, so that when you share with your peer reviewers, it will be easier. And you can include the DOI of your data set in your data availability statement in the paper as soon as the paper has been accepted. And you click publish, okay, when you are ready to do so to make it Google discoverable. Okay, so what do librarians help the depositors with? We help to guide them when they have any questions about I have an upcoming paper for this data set, so what shall I do? So we share with them a little bit about the embargo, or there's this option to lock up files as well. Okay, okay, so there's this pre-publishing reminder that reminds people that when you click publish, it has to remain published. And we also include some of these pointers in the reminder about whether you have obligations that might prohibit you from making the data set publicly available. Okay? So this is one example of a data set with the DOI in the citation. Okay, so there's a description, a paragraph about the data set, and of course the very important keywords indexing terms. Okay, then the file formats is very important. Remember the reusable part. If you're using instruments, equipment that give you a very proprietary software format, file format, you might need to additionally make them available in another format that allows you to be able to open and make sense out of it in the longer term. Okay? So there is this link to the related material and data sets that points to, in this case, it points to the protein data bank that is going to make the data set richer when you have more links like this. Okay, so this is another data set that this is trying to share with you that the data citation can be downloaded, and the matrix you can see in terms of how many views and downloads. So when we do, because I'm also involved in helping faculty members with their dossiers in the promotion and tenure citation reports. So if we find some of these very good numbers, we actually highlight to them as well. Okay, so in the metadata, there's a mention about the related publications. So someone was asking me about the link, the connection between the paper repository and the data repository. So there is a link by having the DOI of the data of the paper in both sides, and then that helps to cross-reference the grant information and the link to the GitHub. Okay, so in this example, it's pretty interesting. It says that identifiable information has been redacted. Okay, all participants consented to the release of the redacted audio recordings. And then some restrictions in terms of, because some of the files are locked up here, so there's some explanation here, and the citation requirements. And then there's this file level. So in this data set, there are close to 500 files. And for this particular file, it includes some information about that file itself. And the data sets are actually Google dataset searchable. Okay. Okay, institutional support for reusing third-party data. So earlier, we talked about data that you have produced. But in research data management, it also involves data that you want to obtain from others, and you want to use them for your own project. Okay, so sometimes that might involve some institutional undertaking. So that is about the, as a data user, you might need the university to help with signing off of some of these institutional level undertakings. So it's called data usage agreements. So in fact, in Singapore, the National Medical Research Council is starting to look at this, advising the universities to set up their own institutional data use, data access committees. So yeah, we are beginning to move in this direction. Okay, so that leads us to open science. We talked a lot about research data management. And then the open science, why open science, you know, now that we have, we are on this RDM journey. So if you look at the UNESCO open scientific knowledge, it is not just about open access publications, but it is also about the data. What else? The open educational resources, the open source software and code, and open hardware. I remember there was a story about someone tried to do an experiment using inexpensive equipment compared to someone else using very expensive equipment. So, you know, it's about all this that helps to make the science you know, to be able to achieve what you want without having to spend so much on all these very expensive equipment when you can do in a different way. Okay, so open hardware. Okay, so the US White House Office of Science and Technology Policy has launched this year as the Year of Open Science. And what is the impact? The US National Institute of Health has actually launched this data management and sharing plan to help promote open science. Okay, so it's not just about managing the data, but the intention is to guide people towards sharing, but bear in mind the tagline, as open as possible, as closed as necessary. So there is a need to look at data management and sharing plan for the US side. There is a mention of repositories. There is a mention of budgeting for data management and sharing. And the other implication for that US side is also to ask that data generated be artificial intelligence, machine learning ready, okay, so that it can be reused in the AI side. Because if it's not open, it's not reusable, it's not interoperable, then it's, you know, is it still meaningful? Okay, so there is this tagline in the paragraph, the last few lines about fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Okay, so that brings us to the NTU Open Research Awards, which we gave out last year. So these professors, they did a fantastic job by practicing open science, by having open research tools. They used their research to come up with tools, and then they used it in the education. These are the open educational resources. Some of them use the open methods, pre-registrations, etc. Okay, so there's this thing about research visibility. So when you are more fair, okay, in terms of findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable, you try to make yourself more discoverable. It helps with the discoverability, and if you were to tie in with the university ranking system, the THE and the QS, they are looking at these metrics in terms of research quality, the citation impact, etc. So when your research outputs are systematically linked up in a connected world through persistent identifiers, then it does really help. Okay, then you are not being underrepresented in this world of scholarly communication. Okay, so I'm going to just round off by saying that when identifying priorities in RDM service planning and development at the institutional level, you could consider this research data lifecycle process that starts with this data management planning process at the top, followed by the active data management while it's still being used and analyzed, passed around, etc. Appraisal and risk assessment, risk-based approach towards the research data management, storing, handling, etc. What to preserve, who has access, are you going to make it all open access or not? And the discoverability part. So all these could be supported by having some kind of policy and strategy, having a sustainable business plan, providing that support infrastructure through training, advisory services. Yeah, and so NTU actually conducted a workshop with institutional stakeholders using the RISE framework by Digital Curation Center in 2019. We used the framework, we flew in the DCC experts. We got the relevant stakeholder units representatives together in one room, and we started to classify our current levels. We were also discussing about the desirable levels of RDM support. Okay, so the different levels of capability will be whether to aim to help the researchers to comply to the local policy or to come up with very tailored approaches for either subject-specific disciplines or to a specific university, for example, or Singapore. Okay. Then the last bit is the sector-leading activity. So for Thailand, you could consider, are you doing it just within your university, or are you going to look at the whole Thailand, or are you going to play a sector-leading role in this region? Okay, so I think that brings me to the lessons learned, which is my last slide. So connect to the university's priorities, consult international best practices, collaborate with passionate parties, stay visible, appreciate the diversity in terms of the different subject disciplines, and different subject disciplines may already be at the different stages of their curves when it comes to RDM and open science, and of course evolve for the better. So we have to keep keeping up and be ready to change and be ready to listen, be happy to adjust. Okay, so I think that's all I have. That's my email. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And that was one of our distinguished and esteemed guests from the Nanyang Technological University of Singapore, Ms. GOH Su Nee. We truly appreciate your contribution to today's workshop, and I'm sure that your support has most definitely made a significant impact for academic research. In our previous session, Professor Dr. Thirayut Vilaiwan have had a session on academic and research integrity atฬาลงกรณ University and had re-emphasized on the importance of the topic of research integrity here atฬาลงกรณ University, as well as Ms. GOH Su Nee, who had talked on the topic of fostering research integrity through research data management and open science. She had talked about research integrity through research data management in the Nanyang Technological University and the repository. Now, following this moment, we will have yet another coffee break. Once again, please feel free to enjoy the break food or use the restroom. We will continue our workshop at 2:40 p.m. or in 10 minutes. We will resume soon. Please enjoy.